Hello, welcome, welcome. Here is our breakdown for the day. We're going to go over some announcements really briefly, and then we're going to do a week 2 overview. Then we'll go into the week 1 reviews from what we submitted last week, and then we'll take a short break and then continue with the reviews. That's a basic breakdown. We'll go into the announcements right now. We'll just go through these really quick. So if you handed in something today, the last time I went over the grades and actually did grading was a little bit after 1 today. So if you've turned in something by that time, then it should be graded. It will be graded. So now's a good time to look over your grade if you've turned in something by 1 o'clock today and want to see where you're at. All right, Christy's schedule has changed from last week, so I've posted her new schedule here. Make sure to get in and see her if you have any questions or you want some help with anything on your projects. Some people might need some help. I noticed putting images into the discussion if you're getting broken links or if you're getting long links or anything like that. Christy can help with that. I'd like to briefly touch on that and go over it really quick as well, just to make sure that everybody knows how to do that. It can get a little bit tricky, and so we'll cover it briefly. We won't spend too much time on it, but we'll go over it really quick. The other thing, it's not an announcement, but I'll go over it. Many of the things, sometimes you'll see, for example, I'll say, feel free to submit a PNG or a JPEG or a PDF file. And any of those three are interchangeable. You can consider them interchangeable for this class. If you submit any one of those 3 formats, you should be fine. And I don't think that, I looked through the class briefly, I don't think there should be any limitations on what you submit file types, but I'm not the only one that controls the classes. And so, sometimes that could change. If it does, let me know that you're unable to upload your project, and I might have to change a setting to accommodate that. But if it asks for a PDF, and a lot of them do, and I said in class, feel free to submit a JPEG or a PNG, you can submit any one of those and it'll be fine. So a lot of the files in this class in particular are interchangeable. They're all files that can be seen by clients, and that's why they're interchangeable. PSD files 9 times out of 10 won't be viewable by clients because they're going to need Photoshop to open that file. And that's why we try to avoid those, .ai and that's Adobe Illustrator, .indd, that's InDesign, .psd. Those are files that are native files to those programs, and if we send those for review, and you can kind of look at the Dropbox, and you can kind of look at me as like you're sending me, you're the designer, I'm the client, you're sending me this for a review. What do you think? And so that would be the only issue in terms of files that we need to consider. A PDF, a PSD, and a PDF. I know it gets confusing. A PNG and a JPEG are all good for this class because anybody can view those. They have software on PCs and Macs that view them. You can view any of those images in a browser. Anyone with a computer on a typical web browser can view that image. Whereas, those other ones, the native build files, they can't view that. You can only view that on your computer because you have that program and you're working in it. So just want to make the point that if I say it in the lecture, then it's open, and really for this class, consider JPEG, PNG, and a PDF to all be one and the same. I don't care if you want to submit any one of those 3. I'm not going to mark you down just because the directions say submit a PDF. That should not be a problem. And I think one of the instances here that, I'll just mention, the classes are being updated, and I, as an instructor, I have a very particular way that I'm supposed to make changes, and it's not through not the usual way. I can't make changes myself because they have to go through someone else whose job it is to update all of the courses. And it's a slow, arduous process, I know, and there's going to be some things that are wrong in the course that we're just going to have to deal with, that I can't just go in and change them. And I've been instructed not to do that. So I have to forward mistakes. So when I say, you know, a PNG is the best file to submit for this in the lecture, but it's asking for a PDF in the directions, it's because I can't change that PDF in the directions. If I want to make any change at all to the course, I have to go through the proper channels, and it takes a while to do that. So that's going on throughout the whole school right now, and has been for several mods. And instructors are not supposed to change the class at all. You know, they're supposed to go take this long roundabout procedure, but in the long run, it's good because the classes are going to get updated properly, and in the long run, there'll be fewer errors. So that's the theory behind it. And I know sometimes it's kind of frustrating to see errors and problems with the course, but you know, bear with it. It'll change eventually, but you might not see it change too often in this class, because anyway, the process is changing, and you know, hopefully we'll get that going eventually. But in the long run, it'll be a good thing. I'll just say that, and we'll move on. So those are the announcements, and let's go into the discussion really quick. So I mentioned here, we've already got a pretty good start, some nice images, and that's a good one. There's my photo, or not photo, vector art. My screen is black. Okay, that's not good. You can't see my screen. Thank you, Vicky. I'm glad Vicky's saving me here. So now can you see it? Definitely want to see the... So we missed this. I thought you guys could view this, but that's our outline. This is the discussion. So before I was just talking about the announcements. So I apologize for the first part of this screen being black, but anyhow, moving on. Now we actually do need to see the screen. So I'm going through and looking at the discussion. Remember, you want to get your first post in by Wednesday. I sometimes check and on the grading for that. I don't always check, but I sometimes do. So it's worth that extra 5 points to get it posted by Wednesday. And your main post should be at least 250 words, and then you should have 2 follow-up posts. So these are looking good overall. Glad to see Vicky, you're sharing videos. That's awesome. Yeah, awesome. I mean, feel free to share videos and other things that help enhance your post. That's good. My cat is wanting to go outside. That's why you hear him meowing in the background. So here is there's one example. So when she posted that, looked like she ran into a problem here, and I can see that Google is the first domain right here, HTTPS. So anything in that first part of the domain, that first part after the www, it says Google or Pinterest. It's basically, this is a link, a URL to another image. So it's not really a permanent reference to the image file. So to get a permanent, so you can't use basically the Google results pages. So if we go in here, we go into Google and say cool vector art, and then we go into images. Let's look at some cool vector art here. Let's maybe click on Jim Morrison. So if I go here, right click, copy link address, that's what I'm supposed to do. but it's not going to work if I do that. Watch, it's because this is a link to another link, and our, when we're trying to do this, this just doesn't hold up. So even though I've gone through technically what's the right process, I want to embed the image, and I go into URL. This is how I would do it, but if I click update, see, nothing happens. I get this little broken link file. And let me even post that reply. Let's see what happens. Now here, I don't know how this happened with her and how that ended up with the long URL, but I just ended up with a broken link because you can't, it's not a real, this is a link to an image at another server. It's not the hard link, so to speak. So let's say I want this image. Let me go ahead and I'll click on it and see where it takes me. It takes me to a Pinterest page, which I'm guessing is, here we go. So this is also a link if I did the same thing on this page. This is on the Pinterest page, and that's going to be a link to this other site. So what I have to do if I want Jim Morrison here is click on him, and we're going to go hopefully get him at this site. So this is Flickr. So let's go ahead and, well, usually they have a link. Now, I haven't been here for a while. Download this photo. That would be another thing you could do, but we're not going to worry about that. Share this photo. So I could click here, and that would be an example of, this should work, Flickr. Let me just take this and copy that. And then we can go back to here. Yeah, I'm just going to delete that because we don't need that. Yes, deleted. Go back up here and I'll just repost it. So embed image, that's what I want. URL, I'm just going to paste right in there and then click update. I'm hoping that works, but it didn't work. So we got to go to another image. I'm going to delete that. And then this is probably good that I'm going through this because it's, a lot of people run into this. So probably at this point, I would just I couldn't go with Jim here, unfortunately, unless I was to download it and upload it onto like my own server. Maybe it would be, you could use Dropbox or something like that. But I won't go through that. Let's just do another workaround. I think the best course of action in this case is to choose another image. Let's choose her. And again, I'm going to get a problem if I try to click on this and copy a link address from Pinterest because it's just a link file to Cruisine. So that is a real domain name that I can take this image from, supposedly, but let's see if it works. Let's say, I'm not finding her here, but she's probably down here at some point. I won't keep scrolling. I'm just going to choose one of these at the top. Let's say her. Let's say I really like, how about her? Well, how about her? Yeah, her. Copy image address, right click, and we'll go back into the discussion, embed image. So we've got this cruisine.com. How do you know if it's gonna, I'm not sure how to tell you other than if it pastes in here and we can view it, that's gonna view when you post it. So I post reply and there it is. So if it doesn't paste in there, maybe that would be the step to do first. And if it doesn't paste in there, then, I think what people end up doing is they, like what I did, I went after this image of Jim Morrison. I was like, oh, I want to use that one. well, unfortunately, I'm going to have a hard time getting it to upload into the discussion. I mean, I could do it, but it would take a workaround. And a lot of times, maybe the quicker, easier, better route is to just find another image, since there's so many out there that you can find and use. And, instead of writing up this big thing, writing like my couple paragraphs of text based on an image that doesn't work, find an image, do that first, make sure it works, and then talk about it. But if you go to Pinterest, that's a good location. And then you click on that image that comes up and then click on it again, you're going to wind up at the actual site where you're going to see, if it looks like this, more or less, it's a blog, it's an independent domain name where they're just actually hosting these images. So a right click here, that'll be a hard link to that image. Save, or you want copy image address, and then you'll paste that in there. But make sure that it shows up in here when you do that. When you do the reply. So you hit embed, and then it'll show when you have it in here. And I know some of them don't, like you saw twice where it didn't work for me. And all I can say is just keep doing that, because I can't give you full points if your image doesn't come through. If you're not sharing it and showing it in here, if it looks like this, you've got to delete it and just find another. But you don't want broken links, and you don't want it to look like that. So if it does, I mean, all I can say is if it's a linked page like Google results, it's not going to work. Pinterest, not going to work. Flickr, I had a problem with it not working. But if it's one of those independent, like blog type sites, Cruising, First Web Designer, any of those, like there's a ton of them out there. You can actually hard link to that image and it'll work. But I don't know how to tell you how else to say, other than just trial and error. Make sure that your image works, and I'd say start with that first before you do a big write-up on it and then get stuck with an image you can't share. The other workaround is Dropbox or one of those other services. There's a number of those services, and I won't go through it because anyone can choose any one of those services, and each one of them is going to be slightly different and have a different process. But make sure to get something in here that is visual in your post that you're sharing for full points in the discussion this week. And really, too, I think people that don't get the 3 posts are really selling themselves short, because it's really simple to do those other 2 posts to other students, and just get your main post and then 2 other posts to students. And the usual, make sure to include your references, APA reference in this one. All right, so I think that's about it. When would you need to create vector art? Why would you use it? It's kind of a review in terms of the discussion questions. When would you need to use a vector mask? Masking out areas and don't want to delete the original artwork. For frames, borders, things like that. And then go online and find something that's share the vector art. You can, what, if you wanted to, and it says share a link in your post. I think Maria, for example, I notice it's not the first time she's had trouble with this. So that's not a link. It's a URL. I guess you can share it this way, and that works. But for example, you wouldn't have to have all this here. That just kind of, I'd recommend just the link. Just having the link is fine. So I guess that works, but this makes it look broken more or less. So Actually, here you don't have, you can just delete that. Just did it for her. So now she's got the link, but I would actually do something like this, edit. I'll just give an example. So link, you might want to make this more obvious. Visit the link image, or you could say to the Pixar minions, or you could say, give a little bit more detail in here. Oh, that didn't include it in the link, but that might be some things that you could do rather than just that. But this will work for now. Just cleaned up her post a little bit for her. So, that should work a little bit better. So, I guess it's nicer to actually have the image in here because people don't have to link out to it, but I'll accept a link. You won't get dropped down. You won't get points taken off for not having the link. If you do that, that's fine. But it is best if you can embed it into the discussion. It just makes it more interesting. More people will view your post, and I suppose a link's fine. And actually, that's really all it's asking for. So share a link. But ideally, yeah, it's better if you can get an actual image and talk about it that way. So I'll delete that. But any questions on the discussion? Pretty straightforward, I think.
No questions. I'm good.
Okay, great. I think you were off to a pretty good start, Vicki. So looking at yours. I like it too when you guys share the extra stuff like YouTube videos and things like that. That's good. So, obviously feel free to do that. Vimeo and YouTube, sharing those videos always enhances the discussion.
It's kind of a long video, but it talks about a lot of stuff. I liked it.
Cool. Yeah, I think it always adds to the discussion, and feel free to do that. I think, you've still got the criteria, and you still talk about you've got enough content here. That's definitely an A+ post, and you've got multiple images that you're sharing. And, I'm not saying that you would want to replace what the criteria is, and, you still want to make sure that you write about the questions and address all these, but sharing any of that stuff is also really good to do that. So anyway, moving on, let's go talk about the assessment. All right, so this one is you'll be touching up an image. It's a beauty glamour image, and let's just go ahead and I'll go over this one some more tomorrow. It's kind of a big image.
The glamour one is our assessment, right?
Yeah, this is the assessment.
Okay.
And the assignment is, what is the assignment? That is, Art Nouveau ad. So that's what you'll be doing this week for the assignment. And this was using shape tools, pen tool, shape layers, things like all the vector tools that are in Photoshop. So that's the focus on this. Probably why the discussion is really vector heavy.
And I think I noticed there's a lot of lynda.com videos to watch as well, isn't there?
Well, it's just these Vimeo videos should be all you need. But that said, if you have time and you're interested, then yeah, absolutely. Helps to watch those. I think the training in Lynda is definitely great material.
Okay.
But to really get the assignment done, I mean, these are pretty straightforward, and they're all you would have to really watch is these, and you could get an A on the assignment. So
Because if you look at the old school, the Art Nouveau look, it kind of looks older. You know, how do you create that old look? You know, are you going
um,
to do a presentation on that?
well, things like that, like old being like I mean, there's some many different things that you can do to make something look old. You can distress it. You can, um, this particular style, for example. I think the best way to familiarize yourself with it is to just look at, do some Googling online and look at Art Nouveau style or just
Right.
Art Nouveau, and uh, it has a lot of different aspects to it. Um, I think some of the
So it doesn't seem to have like a crisp look to it. It's more of a, kind of a old school look, you know.
yeah.
Explain.
Here's gives an example in here. So you're looking at a lot of stylization.
Right. Has a whole different style than illustration.
So yeah, I mean, this is illustration. The cat being that doesn't look like a normal cat. The shapes are stylized. They're stretched. The proportions are unique. Um, they're uh, they're
Even where all the text, where the inside the red area, it's just like washed out, sort of. It's not crisp and black and red, type of thing. It has that washed out look.
right. Yeah, kind of textured, like almost watercolor.
Right.
So yeah, and that I don't know that you're going to see that in every Art Nouveau piece, but it's if you like that and you're inspired by that, you could certainly use it in yours. Let's see if they offer some other um, Gustav Klimt. Again, a lot of stylization going on, and you could make brushes to kind of represent that speckly gold look. You could make a watercolor brush to get that watercolor look or worn look. So you get a lot of texture in this style and a lot of geometric shapes. And again, like the cat, you've got this woman figure kind of has longer arms and hands. She's stylized. She's not realistic looking, but she kind of is. This dress that almost looks flat. So yeah, I mean, look at what kind of makes that style. Um, but if what really appeals to you is the texture and um, the weathered patterns, then yeah, absolutely include it in your own work, in your own style. You can even say things like that, and when you submit it into the Dropbox.
Okay.
But again, more stylization. You got this really long bodies and frilly kind of ornamentation going on. There's a lot of different qualities to this style that make it Art Nouveau. So I'd probably do some research on that, unless you have kind of a strong idea of what you're going for.
Right.
Um, a lot of this kind of the ornamentation and all this kind of swirly kind of shapes with the geometric shapes kind of look like this classic Art Nouveau style.
Right.
You could also look for Art Nouveau fonts, find things like this. Plenty of Art Nouveau fonts out there. Toulouse-Lautrec. So that, you know, the shapes and the figures, a lot of times they aren't realistic. They're very kind of stretched and stylized in this Art Nouveau look. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you can click on this and just kind of keep scrolling through. That's a good place to start. But I think a Google search on the style, and even to read up on it briefly, like even on Wikipedia would be a good start. Would be a good place to familiarize with yourself with it if you're not already. There's also Art Deco, which is really similar style, but it's even more geometric. This is more of a swirly style, kind of, I guess, more of the frilly, lacy kind of feminine style artwork in the Art Nouveau. But yeah, it's an interesting style, so a fun one to work with. But anyways, yeah, that's what you'll be doing in this one. This video too, like, recommends downloading brushes. I think if you do go and Google things, make sure that you are familiar with the website. A lot of times there's viruses and malware that are out there that, you know, make sure that you know either the person that's sharing it or you're familiar with the website and they patrol that stuff. I'm always reluctant. I see videos that recommend just go out and Google and download whatever comes up in the search results, and that can be dangerous, especially for PC users. And I think that even though she recommends that in this video, that would be an optional step as far as I'm concerned. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. If you do want to do that, exercise caution and just, you know, use your brain and don't download just anything that comes up, because yeah, it can contain malware and other things you don't want.
All right.
And yeah, I mean, just use common sense when you go and do that approach. So anyhow, that's we'll get to this one. Let's get back to the assessment. So I'll go through this really quick. Like I say, I want to go through a little bit more detail on this one tomorrow. Watch all of these videos. Some of them are a little bit longer than others, but they're not too long, and you'll know exactly how to do this. There are a few things that I'll cover that she doesn't really cover. I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. So her, for example, first off, make a new layer. We'll zoom in. So we're going to make her look, she looks plenty glamorous as it is, but if we're working for, say, a glamour magazine where everybody in the magazine has to look just spot perfect, then, you know, that's part of our directive as designers, and we've got to make this person look even better than they already do. So that's what we're going for in this case. And so, you know, we've got to try to fix her up. So I say fix her up, and, you know, definitely when you look at her, she doesn't need fixing up, but if she's in a glamour magazine, sure, all right, maybe we've got to do a few things to touch her up. So one of the things would be the shadows. We're going to make some of these shadows a little bit less harsh. And one of those things would be, well, Carly in the video uses a clone stamp tool, but very important, I don't think I remember her saying sample all layers. If you're on the current layer and this is what I recommend, is having this layer above it. But if I have current layer, if I click on this and let's say I try to get rid of that little bump right there, it doesn't do anything because we're cloning from the current layer and there's nothing on it. You can see it's just transparent pixels. So you can go up here and change it to, well, let's see if current and below works. So it'll take anything from below it, and that will work, actually. We saw that change. Or you could have all layers, so whatever you want to do. But if we turn this off, it's hard to see, but you can see that we did actually do something there. So one of the things too, she mentioned your default settings will have it on normal, but she recommended changing it to lighten, I believe. And then her opacity was at 20. I think her flow was at 100%. So we'll go in. And, I could do this multiple times. I just clicked on it again. And that could actually hide that blemish. But probably that setting is a little bit better for these areas where I want to lighten up the shadows. So we'll come in here and kind of do that. I did quite a bit, actually. And we can do it over here. Slightly more glamorous. If it doesn't work, like that didn't work very well, Command Z, keep going, Command Option Z, or keep going back as far as you need to. But if you get into an area and you realize, wow, that's just, I really shouldn't have done that. It was better before. You can always go back in here. And you can either use the eraser or one of these here. This is the layer mask or vector mask, layer mask thumbnail. All it is the black and white here. Black conceals, white reveals. So if I go in here and select my brush and I want to erase, I will just use the black. So my foreground is black. My opacity, maybe I'll bring that up to, let's go 60-ish%. And I want to bring that back in. Well, maybe it makes sense if my brush is a little bit softer, so maybe a 10%. So you can see I hit that, Command Z. I just have a mark there that I didn't want, so I can go over that. About 60% opacity, and I can go back and get this. So that is, well, one way of going about it. Maybe we want to hit the S for clone stamp. Smooth out some of this area in here. She has opacity 20% and on lighten. You can see it's not doing a whole lot. But you want to be subtle, and especially when you're working on the face. Here, sometimes it's, well, okay, look, that one I was on the layer mask, and I don't want to be on the layer mask. That's a common mistake. So I was wondering, why isn't that doing anything? So I just make sure that this is the layer selected, not the layer mask. So Carly uses the clone stamp most of the time. Another one that I like, though, is this one here. It looks like the Band-Aid. It's the healing brush tool, they call it. And that's a good one if you want to get things like this in one fell swoop. See, that just vanished. Vanished. Say this over here. So what this one does is it pulls different pixels from the surrounding area. I always liked it. I think it's a cool tool. You know, for little moles and spots like that, little bumps, that's a good one to use. You can see they're all just in one click, they just vanish. Computer's slowing down, but so you want to go through and hit all those spots. I'd recommend the healing brush, but you could also use the clone stamp. It just depends on your preference. This, for example, when you get close to things, it'll pull from the surrounding area, so it's not always the best one to use. If it's, I mean, that worked. But it also kind of made a little blurry spot right there, so I might want to switch back, hit S for stamp. Maybe I'll switch back and get this one, but you know, I'm either going to have to change my settings, maybe increase the opacity up to, I don't know. I kind of like working at the 20% though and just going over it multiple times. Make sure I'm cloning, so option clicking in the right area, so we kind of match that skin tone. And we can make a larger brush if we want to lighten this whole shadow. I don't think that looks very good. But if it doesn't, just Command Z over and over, just undo, go back into the past. But let's see kind of a before and after. You can kind of see, you know, she's looking better. Just even getting rid of the moles and skin blemishes, and you know, just lightening up the shadows. Carly on the video shows getting rid of the lines underneath the eyes. And, you know, I think there's different ways to do this. You could try the healing brush here, but I'm not a big fan of this when you make the person a little bit too unnatural. I mean, that looks okay. But I think what I would rather choose, and this is, again, it's just kind of personal preference, but I'd probably go back to this, the clone stamp. Lighten at 20%. It's really good. I like this. I like those settings. And she still has a crease there. Well, I want to go back. I want to probably take this whole thing here. So to me now she looks a little bit more natural, but the eye crease there is still there, but she doesn't. I mean, she comes across as looking real. I don't think you want to go so far that people look like mannequins. You know, even the glamorous shots and the touch-ups can go too far. So that's just, you know, something you want to be aware of. Don't make them look non-human, you know. So if we pull back, turn on, turn off, you know, we're seeing that we're going in the right direction. And let's say I thought I went too far on the eye, then I can always just go back, B, and bring this back in. I kind of like how it was, so we can. I personally like to see evidence of like some lines in the face. I just think that earlier solution that I did with this healing brush looked too perfect. Made her look too much. So you want to be aware of that. You got to kind of juggle that a little bit and figure out what's a good balance. And you can see what looks to me like, you look at some of these glamour magazines and it's like you see some unnatural looking stuff in these magazines that it's like, boy, they went too far on the photoshopping on that image. So I would recommend avoiding that. So here the neck lines, and again, do we want a perfectly smooth neck? I don't think so. I think maybe indication of natural, kind of natural beauty really going on is the way I would approach it. If the client comes back and they say, well, we want her to look even more like a mannequin, they're probably not going to say that, but I guess you can keep going. But I think the way that I would approach it is how I'd prefer it, which would be, retain some of the natural blemishes and just tone them down, because those features add to the person and I think add to the character of that person. That's how I personally view it. Now, I don't know. Maybe I could keep going on the neck a little bit more, and I could even try this spot. Well, not spot, but that's a different one that works a little differently. You might want to try some of these different ones out, but this healing brush tool is what I tend to use, like on a lot of the skin, because it just pulls from that area. And I don't know, maybe we don't need necklines at all. And if it looks weird, I just go back. See, now that's important. I want to move in and make sure I'm not pulling anything weird in there, which I am there. So I can just switch back between both of these brushes. If I have current and below or all layers, that's what I have to make sure that I have. I think what I got in here was some hair. So, I'm just going to do an example of going too far, because usually somebody does that. And let's say I went and I can't really go back in time or find my point that I want. I mean, you can always do things like this. This is another fix I'll show you. Let's say I'll open this one. Welcome, Lydell. So, maybe that's a little bit better. You can turn on, off, on, off. Do we need to see the wrinkles and detail in the neck? Probably not. So I could keep touching up the neck, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. But what I was going to show is another thing that you can do is even bring the original image in. Well, in this case, that is the original that I'm working on. So let me go ahead and save it. Command S. _ JC demo. Just so we'll get two of these here. Now I'm going to go back, open the JPEG image. Now it'll let me do that. It's going to take a second. So let's say, I went too far on the neck. I could always grab the original image. Move it in. And I like to make it transparent so I can line it up. Can move it in so that it's pixel perfect, and it takes a little while, but this is also another method that you could use. Like, let's say, well, I want to get some of those lines back, make her look more natural. Just an example, I don't really in this case, but if you do mess up on a certain area, like let's say you take it way too far, you can always go back to that original image, pull it in, and make it work with the rest of that image. So yeah, that's one thing you could do. If you go too far, a lot of people do, because it's hard. Yeah, and when you get in really close, like Lydell's mentioning, a lot of times you'll think that you're doing, you're helping it, and then you zoom out, and then you realize, wow, she looks like a mannequin now. And I went way too far with that, and it's like, oh, I can't go back. I can't hit Command Z because I've already gone too many steps and changed a bunch of things. So, that might be another thing that you consider doing. And if you don't have that file on your hard drive, you can just download it again. So you can pull in certain parts of her, and it's the exact same image. And then just work it in so that it does look right. So you can always start over in that way. A few blemishes in here. So it's kind of a long process. You just go through and keep working at it. But these are my two tools of choice. I like that Band-Aid healing brush tool quite a bit, and you probably like it. Be sure to try that one out. It does leave some odd artifacts though, so you got to be careful. So the neck, I think I also see this. Sometimes people will do this and then go take it a little too far up into the. Suddenly the light doesn't look quite right. I think make sure that you clone from, if you're cloning in the shadow, clone from the shadow. So it gets a little tricky sometimes on these transitions. That's the wrong brush. I want the clone stamp tool. So S, once again, opacity 20 and lighten. Maybe I want to go opacity 10. I can make those adjustments. Let's see what I get. If I clone in this area right below it, there's a transition like that, it'll usually work pretty well. So option click. She's got hair there I don't want. So that wasn't too much of an improvement there, but a little bit. Just getting rid of those lines. Another one that's a good tool is the blur tool. We can use that one to kind of soften certain areas. So in certain areas like this where we don't really want to notice that, we can just blur. Strength at 100%, that's probably a little high. You might want to start at like a halfway, 50%. And sometimes I have to just work with it for a while to figure out, well, do I like that? Probably the easiest way, if you don't like something, is to just go back up here, brush tool, layer mask, and then maybe I'll bring this opacity down here now to 30. Kind of brush. If it's black, you're erasing it. Might be a little bit much, but white, you're adding it back in. So I can toggle that a little bit. So make sure you watch those videos. You'll end up doing the lips, end up doing some of the shadows. You don't have to do exactly what Carly does. I think she's given you some good ideas on what to do. I think there's a little bit of leeway in what you're going to touch up with this. But she does offer a good guide on what to kind of look at on this. And sometimes you've seen me do that a couple times now. Sometimes with the clone stamp or the healing brush tool, I'll be on that layer mask. That's just this right here. So I just got to make sure I'm not on that. If I'm on the layer, that's where I want to be for both of those tools. So just going through and kind of touching her up. She's looking better all the time, and again, I think all of you, or at least 90% of you, will in this project will probably encounter a time where you've gone too far, and maybe you've put too much of her eye in, or cloned out too much of the shadow, and it's changing the form. If that happens, just do what I did before. Just go back, bring this original photo in, cut out that small piece, just marquee that selection like I did with her neck, and bring it in, drop it in. You can start from scratch. Really easy to do that. But just about everybody will probably run into that situation where they've gone too far, made a mistake. And it's natural. I think that's part of the learning process. But just make sure you correct it before you hand it in. And that's one good way to correct it, especially if it doesn't really work so well from this method, from correcting the layer above it. But that's a key point. Again, another key point is make sure don't work directly on this layer. Work above it. So you work above it on layer 1 and set your sampling to current and below or all layers. As well as Carly had those suggestions, and I think this is a really good setting for the face and the clone stamp tool. Opacity 20% and lighten on the blend mode, and that's actually working really well for this. Yeah, and that's a good thing to do, Lido. Yeah, copy it before you begin. You can even, you could just do, instead of going back to your original photo, Command J makes a copy of background copy, and then I just turn one of these off. Like I'll turn maybe that off, and it is a good idea to do that. Yeah. So so those are some key things with this assessment: is make sure to do a new layer, and you can always go back and get this other one. So we'll do more of this one tomorrow. Let me move quickly here because I want to start doing the reviews before we do a break. But really, you can watch these videos and you can start on it, you can finish it, but definitely get a start on it. And then you just submit this as a JPEG, which is a typical photo format. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions on this one. Again, we're going to be talking about it tomorrow. I'll go into the assignment now, which we'll also be talking about tomorrow. So watch these videos. Most of them are pretty short. Again, talking about Art Nouveau and doing an Art Nouveau advertisement. So 5x5, remember 300 pixels, so that's going to be larger. 5 inches by 5 inches. Go ahead and make this. Command N or new. Change this to inches. 5 and 5, and instead of 72, 300. RGB color, that's fine. Lydell did, yeah. He made a cool self-help book. Thought that turned out good. And you use that bubble brush. Oh, there's just chat going on in the chat room. So to those listening to the recording, it's just I'm probably not making sense because I just started chatting. So we're going to look at those book covers coming up. But yeah, Lydell did one. All right, so down here at the bottom of this, well, yours might look like this, but it's clear at the bottom. You got that little blobby looking thing. It's custom shape tool. So that's where a key point about the assignment this week is you'll be using this. You'll also probably be using the pen tool. It depends on your design and what you want to do. Pen tool works the same pretty much, a little bit different, but pretty much the same as it does in Illustrator. But this is a key one. And this was the one where she was saying, oh, go out and Google a bunch of Art Nouveau shapes. And while that's fine, just be cautious about who you're downloading from. Just use common sense. So you could go in here and append all, and that's what she shows in the video. Ornaments is a good one for Art Nouveau. You really could do this whole project based on what is already available in Photoshop. So it depends on really what you want to do. But here was kind of this classic Art Nouveau shape. If we do that, we don't have much room for maybe so well, I should probably explain that. So I just okay, so I went up and selected this. Maybe we'll do something different. How about this one? So this is, if you don't see, I think these are the ornament set. So if I go in here, I could go all, and I'd get a ton of different options, but I think ornaments, let's go append. Yeah, those are ornaments. So those are going to be Art Nouveau. And maybe I'll just choose this one. Choose any of those, but shift. And well, that's the shape. Now I'm going to double click on that layer. And now I can kind of control my color. Depends, like, what do I want for color? Art Nouveau, we got a lot of like reds and warm colors, it seems like, in Art Nouveau. Go up here. Browns, kind of antique looking, maybe something like that. Let's say I want it to be maybe a watermark, because what am I going to do with a design that takes up the whole thing? Something. So with that shape, this is basically, well, it is a vector image. You can see the points in that. So we go Command T, and maybe I'll just stretch this all the way so it bleeds off the edge. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do. I'm just kind of working through this as an example. Add, hit return. I actually have to click off that shape to get it to not show me the anchor points. So maybe I could do that for just a background, and then on top of that I could do, what else could I do? Maybe go back up here. This flower is kind of neat. And that one we can make more prominent. A red-orange. So it's looking a little busy. So something that I could do here is maybe tone it down. So there's still some depth and something going on in the background. So you'll use those shapes quite a bit. And anything that's vector in this is kind of what's going to be your focus. So text, obviously, is vector. And I don't know, an ad for what? Let's see. New hotel bisque or something. I don't know. How about hotel bisque? Let's get maybe I don't know. Get the right color. Are the really bright colors used often in Art Nouveau? I'd have to do some research because I'm not really 100% sure. But what I kind of recall is that they're a little bit more subtle, toned down colors. Not all that intense. Or if they are, they're reserved for just certain times, certain places. And let's get our Good Dog Regulars. Not really working for. I'm not sure if I have any good Art Nouveau fonts just on my computer, but that's what I'm after. So let's say that Bedoni ornaments, those are another one that I could use. Some sort of ornament font. Sometimes dingbats could do the trick for this. I don't know, that's kind of Art Nouveau looking. So we could use that. I think there is a specific font. Well, that's next week. There's specific fonts that they want you to use. So you can use whatever fonts that you want. And if you don't have, this is a good search to do as well. We could say like Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau font or fonts. And here we get a number to choose from. A lot of these you've seen before, like a lot of these here. Kind of have that swirly sort of style going on with them. Here's 1,001 fonts. Best Art Nouveau fonts. That's going to do a lot for your project. So, if you get those fonts in the right style, that's really going to take your project far. There's an interesting one there. This one definitely has that look and feel to it. This one, and there's the one that we were looking at here. So I'm not going to download it, at least not right now, but this viney kind of swirly kind of looking typefaces. This appeals to me. It definitely has the feel to it, but I might choose that, and you might choose maybe that one, or maybe this one. Maybe that one's good. So it's all kind of up to you. That's an interesting one. I kind of like that one. So, plan to maybe download a new font for this one if you don't have something already. And this one will also work. I don't know. Definitely has that swirly kind of ornamentation look to it. And let's see. So, and Free night stay. I don't know. Click to win. Oh, I guess it's a print ad, but maybe we can do a different typeface here. Maybe I end up here. We got Argent. That looks kind of good. Defont.com. Yeah. There's a lot. I think that one that I was looking at was free. And they have a bunch of them at this one, this 1001 fonts. Anyway. So I guess a 5x5 magazine ad, if they want it 300 DPI, then it's a print ad. You'd be making it for print. So my temptation was to say click here, but it's not a web ad. So so we're avoiding rastering or painting. So you're avoiding the brushes. Really, though, I mean, if you need to a little bit, you can, but try to approach it mostly with just these shape tools and text. Free night stay. Come up with an ad here.
JC,
Yeah.
can we use blends?
What's that?
Can we use some blends by chance?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Okay.
Blend modes are like gradients.
Gradients and blend modes. I'm thinking to bring some textures in and stuff.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
You were after the textures, definitely. So yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
The Hotel Bisque. I don't know. I think I'm just getting started on this one too. So this will be, just a start. Again, I'll do kind of more a complete take on this tomorrow. Free night stay at the Hotel Bisque. Usually ads San Francisco Bay. Center this. Yeah, I also think, let's see, how could we maybe even layer this? And if you want to just do text, I can group it, Command G. It'll be all in one group. Now I can bring this here. Now it's looking so bright that we're interfering with the ability to read it, but I like some overlap. So I'm thinking maybe, a little bit might work, but not too much, I guess. I'm going to center that. Anyway, that's a start. We can work on this a little bit more tomorrow, but make sure you watch all of these, and they're fairly short. One of them is a little bit longer, but they'll give you a good idea of what to do, what we're after, and let me know too if you have any questions tomorrow. We can go over anything we need. But like I say, I mean, this is just a start for me. We'll do a lot more on this tomorrow. So I might just, finish it up tomorrow, or even start on a new project altogether. It's just, I don't know. I just kind of came up with this off the top of my head, so not sure that it really quite qualifies as an ad yet.
Oh, never mind. You're fixing it now.
So I don't know what I'll end up doing tomorrow on this, but maybe I'll take a different approach tomorrow. We'll see. So it's a start anyway. Let me just save that just in case we do pick up on it tomorrow, and then let's get started on the reviews here. All right. So hopefully you got enough to get going on both projects. You should. All those videos are a really good breakdown and description of exactly what to do. So let's go ahead and start with some reviews here. I'm trying to see your guys' first since you're in the class. We can go over yours.
It doesn't look like you have my assessment.
Get your assignment. You can talk about your assignment.
Sure.
Computer's running slow today, it looks like here. What happened? I looked at it earlier. Getting a blank white canvas. It might be just, there we go. All right, Lydell A. Jenkins, Abyss of the Mind, Bubbles in the Dark. So I like this is pretty simple. It's good. I think I like the bubbles you came up with. I like that you have them layered. They have dimension to them, the depth. We got some that are up close and some behind, and that kind of brings you into that black abyss of the mind. I think that's good that you tied that together. You could have done like some kind of a ribbon would have been good, like a award or something like that, but some kind of accolade that you might get, like a trophy or a ribbon or some sort of badge or seal that would help the award, because a lot of times text, it's a little bit plain, and you want to show off those awards. So that would be one thing I'd say. But let's see, staples. Let me expand this a little bit. All right, so when you look at the guide here, this might be an issue. Something you could do is make this all black, so you get a bleed, or
that the white around that was on purpose. I made that a white border so it could separate the front and the back more evenly.
Yeah, and you could do that. You could do the frame, the border. That's fine. But look what happens. And I can't really resize it, but if you look at how small the space right here is versus right here. So if you were to, just put up probably do it. with something like this.
I did notice that in Photoshop when I was trying to finish it, but I just couldn't figure out how to make it look good.
So you see how that would look like that if you looked at a book, if the cover of a book. So all you'd have to do is take that and tap it to the right, and it would look more balanced. Because here, that spine is going to bend right there, or right here, it's going to bend. So if you made that frame look even, so you had the border kind of the same on all sides, that would help it. That would improve it. And that and just adding some sort of like a word like for this instead of just typing it out. And like here, you could put in quotes, great read for the whole family. Check out how that's done, like when you usually see, because those are good testimonials. Those are good to have. It's good that you included it, but check it out. Like
it's usually in italics or something like that.
Yeah, right. Italics or a little lot like a M dash, like right before their names. So a lot of times it's good if you can get a reference and just copy it. We're going to actually copy movie posters next week. So you can, get an idea. And sometimes it's hard to find those things at the last minute, but adding authenticity like that by copying what the standard is always going to help it. But I like it. I like the idea. I like that you included well, Bernie Mac, since he's a star, he should be on the cover somewhere. But I like the fact that it's really simple too. I think it's good.
The reason I put Bernie Mac on the back is because as I was working on this, I had read an expose that was done about him, and it was talking about how actually humble he was. Even though he was a star, he didn't really like to overshadow people.
Yeah.
So that's why I put him on the back, to like sort of stay with his humble attitude, but also give him his correct dues, because no one knew exactly how much pain he was in before he died. I mean, nobody knew. So, and that's why I put that blurb on the top.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you got going. I think I do like the simplicity of the front as well. But anytime you're going to work for someone else, you'll have those criteria that like they'll say, well, and it was a perfect example too with blemishes in the woman. And here's this beautiful woman. What are we fixing her up even more for? She doesn't need it. But you can't tell a client that. You can't like just say, well, I think this is good, or that'll never hold up. You've got to, if the client's like, whatever they say, it kind of has to go. You know what I mean? It's like, even though you think, well, she doesn't need any more touch-ups, or, Bernie Mac, he's humble in person, so he should go on the back. He still is going to sell that book. He's going to get it into more hands. And you say things like, we want it to be in more hands. We want it to get out to people. And we want more people to buy this book. We want to see him, even if he's small on here, and maybe you could show that in that way. But just an idea, I think, to keep in mind.
I could see like where you're going, maybe a silhouette of his face in the bottom right corner or something. Just
sure, and like he doesn't have to dominate the whole thing, but maybe something. So
because if I saw this book on the shelf, I wouldn't even know it was about him, if you think about it.
Yeah. And if you look at it as like, yeah, he's gonna sell the book basically. That's
right.
You want. you want your ringleader up front, you know, even if you want your star up front, and he doesn't have to be big, but maybe he could be kind of like you're saying, Lytle, is just have him small, and that would show his kind of humbleness of character. But, you know, yeah, if
Okay,
you did.
I'll resubmit it.
I think that's a great start, Lydell. You're doing a great job. The other thing that's really kind of getting me is the white boxes is taking away from the back. I think the text could be like in white text and a little bit bigger on the top text or something like that. I think the white boxes is drawing my eyes. I mean, playing tricks on my eyes or something.
That's a really good observation, Vicky. Yeah.
But I think the
Editors.
book looks really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I think he did a good job on this too. I think I like the concept, and I like the cover's really simple. I think it works really well. And I hate to like pick on. I hope I don't come across like I'm picking on people, but like I have to look at things and go, well, how can they be better? And I want to look at things and say, what is right? I need to make sure that I focus also on, well, what is right. And I want to say that you did an excellent job on this already. I don't think you need to resubmit it. Really, I mean, if you want to do some additions to it or make some changes, you can. But yeah, I think, you know, when we talk, one of the things I really like about it is the simplicity of this front cover. I think it's very just straightforward, and I think it does do a good job of presenting itself. But yeah, I think Vicky, you're right. The squares in here with the text, I think this would probably just look better with even black on black text, and consider like the I don't know if you've seen the kind of like a spot treatment where it's kind of glossy. That might be one possibility, but maybe it's gray text. Maybe it's not the gloss, because, you know, that's another thing. If we don't want to show off and be glossy or glitzy, that's another point that Lydell's trying to make on this. So I think, yeah, I mean, even if we dropped out those boxes and maybe made this text on back gray or white, you could check it out. But with the fact that they're on that backdrop, they do kind of, it does detract from it a little bit. So I think you just have regular text on here, and it would be probably, it just read better. I think it would look better overall. You get that rectangles and rectangles, and suddenly things start to get unnecessarily busy.
Yes, I can see that now.
So I think, yeah, overall, excellent job on this, though. Vicky, did you have anything else?
No, I think it did a great job. Looks great. Really good.
All right. Yep, good job on this, Lydell.
Thank you.
Let's check out Vicky's here. Computer's moving very slowly. All right. I like this one too. So it's a little harder to view, but the cat's great. I like the illustration on front. Now this is so we can see. I'll just do
The dancing cat with the fish is cool. I like that.
Did you do the illustrations on this?
Yeah, I did it all. Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed. Looks good.
Thank you.
All of them. The cat.
And the cat, the fishbowl, the fish,
Really good.
everything.
All right, so this is how it would kind of fold, just so you can show. There's you go, black or white on that.
See, I was gonna resubmit it Saturday night, so I wasn't sure if it would work. I wanted to draw people to the back side of my book to read.
And that, okay, I mean, I see what, with his thought bubbles coming out, like over here, and then
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I don't know that I can offer anything to improve this. It's really nice. I think, um, the font like looked a little bit stretched vertically was the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that was a little bit weird, but I don't know. Did you pull it vertically? It is.
I may have a little bit because I thought it was too close to the bubble
Yeah.
after it was already in outlines, and so I may have a little bit.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this. I'm not sure. Lido, do you have anything you would say about it? There's the spine. That's where it folds.
The only thing that I would suggest is overlapping the thought bubbles.
Overlapping them? Okay.
Yeah, you said you wanted to bring the readers to the back of the book.
Right.
If you would like connect the thought bubbles, I'm not saying put more, but just elongate them a little bit so they touch, overlap slightly. Then people will say, "Oh, okay, well she's pulling us around this way."
Okay.
Because I've read a couple books that had that separation, and I never actually got that
connection.
Yeah, I just didn't get it from how that was.
Okay,
but
that's good.
That's a really cool book.
It is. I love this cat. It's excellent.
I can like immediately relate to that cat.
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah.
Everyone has seen something that they really want and just visualize themselves with it. I mean, I can just immediately identify it.
Yeah, I can too. Big eyes, and it's like very prominent on the cover. And yeah, really.
He's like in deep thought.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great.
He's looking at the fish saying, "Yeah, just swim to the top a little bit more." So
yeah,
I don't want to fight you. I just want to talk to you for a minute. Come here.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. Not much I can say. I think the other thing you could do maybe if, thought bubbles, if you want to make them more directional, like a square and a circle, they don't really point you in a certain way, but like a shape like this will.
Oh, okay.
So like...
Yes, that's what I meant by elongating the thought bubbles.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Something like that.
Okay.
It
That's
kind of
great.
an unofficial arrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Longer on the sides than or width than on the height.
Okay.
And they'll kind of direct a little. But yeah, really good.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, we can maybe look at these. I did download a ton of things. Vicki, we could look at yours. So these were cool. I like these skulls.
They were interesting.
Yeah, it turned out good. Where'd you get those? Did you make that yourself or?
No, I downloaded it from Brush Easy.
Cool. Yeah, as long as you trust your sources and you've done it there before, and I have several that I trust, and I kind of get nervous about Googling and going to any site and downloading things and installing things, and
Right.
you just have to use common sense, and I think most people
Vicki, I was going to ask you if you took a picture of my blanket.
Your what?
The skulls. I have a blanket that resembles those skulls.
Oh, do you? No.
Yeah.
That came from Brush Easy, actually.
Well, that's probably where the person who made the blanket got the pattern from.
Probably so.
Looks great.
This one, these look good. I like what you got going. This one was the only one that was, I don't know, what happened there? Were you
I'm
going?
not sure. I couldn't figure out why it did that. I was like, okay, maybe the others, I don't know. I had no idea why it did that.
So if you use this, like polygon tool here, you can do these like forever, and you can make them as large as you want, so long as they're vector. Those shape tools, any of these, you can, But here, if you do it with, if you rasterize that.
Oh,
Well,
that's probably what I didn't do.
Well, yeah, you don't want to do it. So let's say you've got this. You don't want to rasterize.
Oh,
So let's say you have this.
Did do it.
And then, so I'm just going to rasterize that layer. So now it's a rasterized shape. So watch what happens when you blow it up. It's like,
oh yeah,
that's, I could make it a lot worse. I think if it just kept doing that, but you can see it's blurry compared to this shape here. Let's maybe make it red or something. We can see it better. Just as big, but just to make the point. Look at that. Such a, so it looks like you started really with a small shape there and blew it up.
right.
But anyways, I like the textures though. I really like how those turned out. The skulls are cool. The dots are cool. That's just the low res texture is the only problem. And otherwise, if it wasn't pixelated like that, it'd be nice. A few little things in here you want to make sure you clean up, like those little areas right there. I can't really see them in this one, which is your main one. But yeah, those turned out good.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's look at yours, Lydell. I think I have yours.
I was going to ask, did you not get it? Because I had admit that like 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
Go in.
Let's see. Is that it? That's it. That's it. Let's open that one. So yeah, so the other 6 ones that you submitted were just singles, but this was the contact sheet was the only one you needed.
Ah, okay.
So this is the only one that you needed, but this turned out cool. I like this. You got the title, or excuse me, the tile here, which I think this looks okay. And then, but when you show it in the pattern, I'm like, wow, that's a really cool pattern. I like that. I like that one. And
that one was my favorite too. The dots just started messing with me in weird ways.
I kind of like the dots too. This is definitely my favorite, but these aren't bad either. This with especially when you look at the pattern, they actually turn out interesting. A little bit much, but yeah, I really, I would choose this one out of the batch, but they all worked out pretty well.
Thanks. I was actually thinking about getting tiles like that for my kitchen floor just so I can screw with my dog.
Do this one. This one's the best one. I like this one. I think this is really good actually. That's the geometric kind of, they really come together well on that one.
Thank you. That one actually took me the longest time to do because I actually had to line up everything by eye because nothing would snap.
Yeah. I like the fact that you included here that the extra white space on the top in here, so that when you look at it here, it's a nice looking grid. That's maybe we can blow up. I mean, that's a professional looking pattern. This is really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're nice.
That's one to save and use in other projects. I would definitely use it.
Feel free. Just use as you wish.
Well, for you to use. It's hard to blow up.
Oh, I actually have a project in mind that I want to use that pattern for. So
Cool. No, I think it's great. Like even for the movie poster next week, if you wanted to work it in to that, I mean, feel free to reuse elements that you like. And this is a great element. This is, like you say, you took your time on it, and it shows. I mean, it's definitely strong. So you're not going to be able to put text over it, but you know, it could be used in certain areas, kind of conservatively, or.
okay. I also like how the fact that if you look at it, a lot of the circles turn. I mean, a lot of the diamonds turn into circles.
It has a three-dimensional look to it.
It's an optical,
Yeah.
Op art, you know.
Oh my gosh.
They call it op art in the, well, not pop art, but op art, optical art. It's a whole art movement.
That's like a big art.
So yeah, you could like, you know, for your book spine or something, even on your book that you did, you could wrap it, but it might be too busy for that. But you know, you'd have to be aware of, you know, however you used it, it would draw attention to itself. But you know, you could use this. I can picture this being used in other elements and other designs. So good
job. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, good job on this. So definitely good work on that one. I'm trying to work with. That's not bad either. Kind of like that. You have to kind of balance the repetition. Things that are too repetitive, because we talk about contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And repetition's a good thing, but if it's too repetitive, and this is just borderline, I think borderline too repetitive, but it still works. But this, you know, it's just enough that it's interesting. So good work on that. So let's do a 10-minute break and continue. I guess we'll meet again at, looks like 4:30 is just, well, 4:30 is just right now. So I guess we'll meet at 4:40.
Okay.
I will be here waiting.